All right, I'm going to ask all the alumni to turn their videos on for this first portion, if possible. I also want to acknowledge that we will be recording the first 15 minutes of this session so we can hear the alumni story and share that with students who could not make it today. If anyone would not like the first portion of this to be recorded, please let us know, indicate in chat, or raise your hand. Okay. Well, welcome. This is Taste of Success Nonprofits. I'm Nancy Kuyak Ford, and I work at SuccessWorks within L&S, and we're so thrilled that you're here today. We have a set of 4 fantastic alumni panelists that are here to share their experiences and answer any question. They're going to spend 3 to 5 minutes to give a brief overview of their career path and current role, and then we'll open up for questions. And you can certainly put the questions in chat, or you may raise your hand and I'll call on you to unmute yourself and ask the question. So let's get started. We're going to start today with Molly Dobberke Riehle. If you could please spend 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Nancy. And hi, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here. As Nancy said, I'm Molly Dobberke Riehle. I'm the executive director of Centro, which is a nonprofit law firm in Milwaukee. I'll talk a little bit about what that means, but my personal background is that I'm a Wisconsinite born and raised. I grew up in Mukwonago, which is about half an hour southwest of Milwaukee. And I spent time at UW-Madison, where I got my bachelor's degree in history, German, and Italian, all very, very practical things. But really, the beautiful thing of studying the things that I studied is that I think it all prepared me to be a really good writer and all prepared me to think widely about the world. And that's really what I think you should be looking for in your undergraduate degree. After I graduated from UW-Madison, I went to the University of Michigan Law School, where I received my JD in 2015. Following that, I served as a clerk in the Milwaukee County Circuit Court. A clerk is a person who is an attorney and writes draft decisions for judges, helps research different cases that come up in front of judges and that kind of thing. I did that for a little over a year, and then started working at Centro, the nonprofit law firm where I'm now the executive director. I practiced at Centro as a family law attorney for several years before taking the executive director's role in 2019. I'm just passing 2 years in the ED's position. So I'm happy to answer any questions about any of those steps in my career. Just a little bit about the organization. We represent people who are earning low incomes in the Milwaukee area. About 65% of our clients are survivors of domestic abuse. So we focus on a trauma-informed legal practice in that sense as well. Most of our work is in family law. It's generally focused on divorces, paternity actions, anything related to the family. And again, because of our expertise and focus on domestic abuse cases, we also sometimes work in the world of restraining orders as well. Again, happy to answer any questions about what the day-to-day looks like for me. I spend a significant amount of my time both on the administrative side and on the fundraising side of the nonprofit world. And again, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Molly. Now, Laura Kaiser, please, let us know about your journey.
Hi, sorry I can't get my video to work. I am the communications director for the Wisconsin Technology Council. I focus on outreach and being able to build connections and network with people across the state to bridge the gap between entrepreneurs, investors, service providers, and help people to find the resources that they need to be successful entrepreneurs. I graduated from UW-Madison in 2000 to maybe 2001. I don't know, so long ago now that I can't remember exactly what year it was. But I am also born and raised in Wisconsin. I am from up north in Eagle River, Wisconsin. I lived in Wausau for a while too, and did a couple years at the UW Marathon Center, which was really great for my education as a kind of boosting, because I went from a very, very small town to kind of an intermediate town and got to know people and really worked really closely one-on-one with the teachers that I could, and kind of, you know, was the front row teacher's pet kind of person. So it was a good transition to going into UW-Madison, where you don't always get that one-on-one with teachers until you get into the smaller classes your junior and senior year. I 100% agree with taking classes that really interest you and help you develop your well-rounded skills. My degrees are in English and sociology. And at the time, my mom said, "What are you planning on doing with those?" And I was like, well, yeah, my plan is not necessarily to be a sociology teacher, although I did consider going into counseling. But I don't get paid to use my degrees directly, but both of them have helped me so much in everything I do. I'm a stronger communicator for it. I'm able to process things that I write and read both at the same time, and in conjunction with being able to kind of think about the interpersonal interactions between people and how people relate to things and how things relate to people. So I think that there's a lot to be said for having followed my path of what I'm passionate about and things that I'm interested in, and not just, I'm going to go to UW-Madison and get an engineering degree because I want to be an engineer. It's follow the classes that really speak to you and your passions, and then find a job that will allow you to make a living doing the things that you love doing.
Thank you so much, Laura. Cathy Malone, would you help us with hearing your story? Hi, Cathy. We just need you to unmute.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. After all these months, I'm still not used to it, huh? I'm Cathy Malone. I'm actually from Madison, Wisconsin. So not only did I go to college there, but I went to high school in Madison as well. I got my undergrad degree in communications way back in 1990. So it's been a long time since I've been at Madison. But after I graduated from the UW, being from Madison, I wanted to experience something new. So I moved down to Chicago, and I got a job doing, basically, I would just call it like a sales job at a marketing type company. And I did that for 4 years and decided that I wanted to go back to school to get my MBA. So what better place to come back to than Madison? So I got my MBA in marketing from Madison as well, from the UW, and went to work at Kraft Foods in the Oscar Mayer division after interning there. So I was really enjoying my job at Oscar Mayer, but I was also really involved in the Madison community. I became a big sister through Big Brothers Big Sisters. I was asked to be on the board at Big Brothers Big Sisters, so I did that for a couple of years. And the farther I went into my career path at Kraft, the more I realized that what I really loved doing was working in the nonprofit world, even on a volunteer basis. So I just decided I'm going to completely switch professions. I'm going to move into nonprofit, and I wanted to go back to Chicago. So I got a job at a pretty large nonprofit agency in downtown Chicago, and I did all of their corporate fundraising, going into all the big consulting firms in downtown Chicago, tons of law firms in downtown Chicago, and raising money from corporations to support the nonprofit there. As life kind of took me out into the suburbs with having children, et cetera, I worked at an animal shelter as the director of development for a number of years. I had a passion for animals. I've worked at different human service organizations. And then about 4 years ago, actually exactly 4 years ago, I had the opportunity to become the advancement director at Mutual Ground. It's a domestic and sexual violence shelter. It's something that I've been passionate about for my whole life. So it was just an opportunity that I jumped at, and it's just the perfect job for me, because what I love doing is going out into the community and talking about what my organization does, the impact that we make on people's lives. And I raise all the money for the organization. That's a little bit challenging in these days of COVID and the pandemic, but it's really, really rewarding. And everything that I did at the UW plays a role in my job today, from public speaking to all the writing I have to do for appeal letters, newsletters, just all my business skills, etc. So it's really been a wonderful journey for me, and a career path in nonprofit is just a wonderful thing. Everything that you learn in college or grad school or wherever you do builds on people skills and things that you really need by working in the nonprofit world. So it's a wonderful career path if it's something that interests you. But I would go along with, if you're working in an industry that you're passionate about, your job is just so much better. Like, you'll just enjoy life more. You'll wake up in the morning wanting to go to work if it's something that you love and that you're passionate about. So definitely follow your heart with that.
Thank you so much, Cathy. And our last panelist is Jill Schmitz.
Hi, everyone. So I graduated from UW in 2004. And during my time there, through my comm arts degree, I actually had an internship at the Wisconsin Union as an event planning intern for their conference unit. And I was lucky enough to have that internship and then continue in a role at the Wisconsin Union right after graduation. So that was great, especially in the 2008 recession when jobs were not abundant. So I had a background in event planning that I've now taken to the nonprofit world. So there I planned conferences, worked with students, I had student interns, but also worked with faculty and external groups. And so that really gave me a good grounding in that profession. And then when I moved to my next career at the Convention Visitors Bureau in Madison, I took those skills, but then worked with more of the Madison community. So we worked with all of our partners, so restaurants, hotels, even nonprofit groups in Madison. And that's where I kind of expanded my view of Madison as a student. I'll say that I pretty much didn't make it past State Street, so that expanded my view of Madison. And I realized I wanted to get more involved in the community. And one thing that I always grounded myself in was my event planning skills, my expertise in that, but I really wanted to find a job that spoke more to things I was interested in, of helping those in the community or working for some organization that helped people. And so I found that at UW through the Ride. It's a fundraiser that benefits cancer research at UW and the Carbone Cancer Center. So in the research world, funding is at an all-time low, and my boss is actually a researcher who he experiences this. He writes grants, doesn't get them, and that's, I mean, how research is done, right? That's how we find cures, and this is especially prevalent now with, how much money has gone into COVID. We really see that when people can have the funding, they can do the research, they can hire the staff, they can bring these new ideas. And if we want to continue helping our community in the state and the world with cures for cancer and treatment, we need funding for that. So I was able to take my event planning and move it into nonprofit, that really I get the best of both worlds. I get to use my skills that I learned all the way from an intern at the Wisconsin Union to now really feeling like I'm making an impact in the community. And so that's what I do now as Director of Operations. I plan all the aspects of it, from the event production, obviously, to the volunteers. And we're only a team of 2.5. And I say 2.5 because there's 2 full-time staff members at the Ride, and my boss is the half because he's still a full-time researcher. So we are a small but mighty team. And one thing about that is then I get to do everything. So my, obviously, goal is in the operations field, but I also work heavily in fundraising and outreach to our community, not only to get more participants, but volunteers who also want to participate in the mission. So I would say as an undergrad, my schooling was great. I loved my majors, but the thing I actually very am, fortunate for is that my major actually took me into an internship that pretty much shaped my life and allowed me to now work in the nonprofit world, making a difference, hopefully. So.
Thank you all for sharing your varied journeys, and I can just already imagine all the passion that you have for your current roles and what your future roles would be. Before I ask a question, I want to open up to our participants. If anyone has a question for any of the specific alum or a general question, please raise your hand. You don't have to put your video on, or you can just put it in chat.